老爷，最近京城里闹鬼，许多达官贵人家里都遭了殃。
何必等到现在？
既然各有所求，我们做个交易。
你房里有其他人，何不请我进去坐坐？
这一路，你有无数机会可以动手。
Upon returning to the imperial capital, white banners were strung across the streets. Northern suppressing King Ling Yinfeng, the 8th imperial uncle, was dead. A man who had once fought through life and death for the Ling family, amassing glorious merits, now had the entire nation in mourning. Hearing of the northern suppressing king's death, Qinmu frowned slightly and glanced at the national preceptor of the Dian Kang nation, Dian Kang. The national preceptor fell silent for a moment, then said softly, "I must go to the northern suppressing king's mansion to offer condolences." Qinmu asked in a low voice, "Why did the northern suppressing king rebel?" "He did not rebel against the emperor," Dian Kang replied. "He rebelled against me. My power made him uneasy. He feared I would overturn the Ling family's realm." He let out a light sigh. "You're right. I should start a family. Even with the Tao of heaven in my heart, I still must have a human heart." The national preceptor returned to his residence, but the moment he arrived, he became wary. He did not enter through the main gate. Instead, he slipped in quietly. The estate was unnaturally silent. The restrictions were still intact, yet the servants and guards had all been bound tightly. Fu Yuanqing hung in the center of the main hall, his cultivation and divine treasures completely sealed. In terror, he cried, "I didn't see anything at all. One blink, and I was already hanging up here." Dian Kang's voice sank. "It wasn't demons. It was that person. He came to take back the leg." They opened the treasure vault. As expected, it was empty. On the wall remained only a single line of handwriting, ugly enough to make one's eyes sting. "National Preceptor, I've taken back my leg. Your treasures I accept. Your bed I slept in. Your tea I drank. I even left you a little souvenir. Debts and grudges are settled, no need to thank me." Dian Kong's face turned livid with rage. Beds were thrown, tea was flung, his whole estate erupted into chaos. But the real tragedy was this. There was no money left in the house. His stipend had run dry. There was nothing valuable remaining. Even borrowing was difficult. In the end, the national preceptor pondered for a long while, then suddenly laughed. "I know who I can borrow from. He has money and he isn't in court. Borrowing from him won't cost me face." At the same time, Qinmu returned to the scholar's residence. The moment he stepped into the courtyard, the pungent stench of medicine hit him. Furnaces and cauldrons filled the yard, rare medicinal brews everywhere. And inside, there was a leg and an arm. His hands trembled. He told Hulinga and Fatty Dragon to guard the gate. Pushing open the door, he saw two people, Old Ma and crippled Grandpa. "Grandpa, Old Ma." Qinmu's eyes reddened. "You came to visit me?" "No. I came to reattach my leg." Crippled Grandpa grinned, pointing at the leg in the furnace. "See that? My leg. I just took it back from the national preceptor's residence." He could only watch. Qinmu fell silent for a moment, then smiled gently. "Crippled Grandpa, the national preceptor you ran into, exactly. Which national preceptor was it?" Grandfather and grandson looked at each other wearing the same simple, honest smile, a kind of trustworthiness that felt dangerous. Qinmu and the cripple stared each other down, neither willing to yield. Old Ma sighed, his voice cold on the outside, but warm within. "You're both grown men. Stop being childish. We came to see how you've been living these past days, also to let you check whether our hands and legs still work." The cripple chuckled. "Old Ma ran tens of thousands of miles from the great Leiyin temple, obviously to visit you. And me? I just happened to be passing by to take back my leg from the national preceptor's place." Warmth rose in Qinmu's chest. Old Ma slowly recounted when Qinmu was little, he used to wet the bed and cry all night. Granny C had tried more than once to give him away to someone else. Every time she took him away the next day, he would appear back in bed, all because the cripple had secretly stolen him back. The cripple snorted. "I hate children the most. If I hadn't only had one leg, I would have kicked him into the sky long ago." Qinmu's heart clenched in pain, yet it also warmed until his throat tightened. Not wanting to hear any more bedwetting legends, Qinmu began examining Old Ma's arm and the cripple's leg. Old Ma's arm had been preserved extremely well. It had once been kept in the heavenly Buddha tower, nourished day and night by Buddhist true words. But the cripple's leg, the blood had spoiled, and its vitality was nearly severed. The cripple almost went mad. Chinmu, still smiling, gently added, "I also found the smell of smoking and 5-spice in the blood. The national preceptor must have dried it." The cripple laughed like he wanted to cry. Fortunately, Chinmu explained that as long as it was nourished with spirit medicines for a period of time, it could still be reattached. Just then, Hulinga reported, "Young master, the national preceptor is here." Dian Kang stood outside the door, coughing awkwardly. "Scholar of the Imperial College, could you lend me a bit of money?" So it turned out the national preceptor's residence had been cleaned out by thieves, and he still needed to go offer condolences to the northern suppressing king. His pockets were empty. Chin Mu burst out laughing and lent him 1,000 Great Feng coins. Dian Kang said solemnly, "I will repay you. Poverty is only temporary." Before leaving, he glanced toward the main room, his gaze profound. "In your room, there are 2 very powerful figures." Chin Mu smiled and saw him out. After the national preceptor left, Chin Mu turned back and asked crippled Grandpa, "Did you really empty out the national preceptor's residence?" The cripple shook his head. He was already poor. The most valuable thing he had was only that sword god painting from the deaf. He tossed the painting to Chin Mu. "Keep it. Don't open it. The deaf painted the village chief when he was young. You won't be able to bear looking at it." Chin Mu quietly put the painting away, his heart full. The people of the village of the disabled all claimed they didn't miss him. Yet one by one, they had left the village for his sake. After finishing his preparations, Chin Mu used medicine to nourish Old Ma's arm and the cripple's leg, then went to the Imperial College's storeroom to buy Chuyan goo powder from Nanjiang's southern frontier. Chuyan goo were extremely tiny goo insects, too small to see with the naked eye. The moment they encountered blood, they lived. Once the goo powder mixed into fresh blood, tens of thousands of goo insects awakened instantly, making the 2 bowls of blood seem alive. The cripple watched until his scalp tingled. "Moa, you're really going to use that stuff?" Chaimu reassured him. Chuyan goo are relatively harmless. They can eat all dead blood, rotten flesh, and shattered bone. Even if the user grows old and dies, they'll still keep the appearance they had when they were young. Hearing the words "still fresh after death," the cripple's spine went even colder. Chinmu placed the arm and leg into the medicinal cauldron and explained the goo insects could recreate vitality, but they needed fresh blood as nourishment. If they were left starving, they would bite back at their owner. So Chinmu sowed a seed, then used the creation innate art to force its growth. In an instant, a sapling shot up, blooming with white pear blossoms, then bearing golden fruit. "This pear is a medicinal catalyst," Chinmu said. "It lets the goo insects leave the body without any lingering trouble." Old Ma and the cripple looked at each other in astonishment. The cripple murmured, "Granny Sai used the creation art to kill, but you use it to save." "You've cultivated it correctly," Old Ma said gravely. "She's the one who went astray." Inside the Imperial College, Chinmu received 3 imperial edicts. He casually tossed them into his room without even sparing them a glance. Official rank honors, none of that mattered. He was cultivating the 5 Wonders realm. After his trip to Nanjiang's southern frontier, he had completed 4 rounds of deification. Only the star-quelling lord remained the hardest of all. His body entered deification, a human head atop a serpent's body. Behind his back, 2 ancient doors manifested tightly shut. In his hand, a hazy book appeared. The characters on the doors and the book were not of the mortal world. "What script is this?" Suspicion stirred in Chinmu's heart. Suddenly, a demonic voice sounded inside his mind. "Stop thinking. This is the writing of Yudu." Every hair on Chinmu's body stood on end. "Who are you?" The voice gave a soft laugh. "Why pretend? When I borrowed your eyes to observe Dian Kang, the national preceptor of the Dian Kang nation, you already noticed me," he whispered, brimming with malice. "Dutian's demon lord." This time Chinmu truly felt his scalp go numb. On the day Dian Kang fought the great battle outside Daxiang City, the Dutian demon king had borrowed Chinmu's eyes to watch. Not only had he seen every move made by beings at sect master level, he had even comprehended the profundities hidden in each strike. Back then, Chinmu had thought he concealed it perfectly. Only now did he realize it had all been a joke. The Dutian demon king had long sensed the tremor in his heart and had even guessed his thoughts. Wretched life forms, like you don't play tricks before the ruler of Dutian. Submit to me. That is your only path. Chinmu forced himself to calm down. Then all at once he laughed. Great demon king in this world, I'm the only one who understands the commanding ghosts and spirits talisman. The Dutian demon king fell silent. After a moment he chuckled softly. Interesting little ghost. Daring to bargain with me. Chinmu's nerves were drawn tight as a bowstring. He understood clearly the demon king was afraid. Otherwise he would have acted long ago. As long as one's methods were sharp enough, this demon king could be killed. The Dutian demon king slowly stated his purpose. Dutian had already perished. He only wished to bring a portion of his people into this world so they could continue to exist. He did not want war. Believe that. Only ghosts would. But Chinmu couldn't expose the lie. The Dutian demon king tempted him. Help me, and I will explain the Yudu writing on those doors and that book. Chema gave a cold smile. My family can recognize that script. Recognize it, so what? The demon king sneered. Yudu characters must be read aloud to carry power. That book records Yudu sorcery. Don't you want it? Chinmu wavered. The soul summoning guide. Is Yudu sorcery? He asked. Only a crude imitation. The real art must be wielded using the language of Yudu. Chinmu's heart pounded. If the soul summoning guide was already that terrifying, then what would true Yudu arts be like? In the end, the Dutian demon king set his terms. Chime would summon demons, and the demon king would teach him the language of Yudu. Their battle of wits tightened suspicion, threading every word. After many attempts at baiting each other, Chinmu suddenly smiled. Then let's use the human tongue to write the covenant. The Dutian demon king stayed silent for a long time, then cursed outright. You little bastard, cunning as a ghost. You only half understand demon speech, yet you still dare use me to learn it. The air froze. A man. A demon king. Between them a covenant that could decide life and death. And the secrets of Yudu slowly peeling open. If a language could be understood 40 or 50%, then the rest was nothing but cipher. And ciphers placed before and after context could always be inferred. That was exactly what Chinmu was doing. He was never proficient in demon speech. He had only heard it before at the Divine Maiden Temple in the Great Ruins, and later the demon god sealed into the wall of Zhenyang Palace had taught him the Grand Freedom Seal. From there he gradually grasped part of demon speech. Once one understood a portion, the remaining parts could be deduced like unlocking layer after layer of encrypted text. The Dutian Demon King's 3 covenants were the best opportunity. The demon speech within those covenants was extremely orthodox, containing the dreadful might of gods and demons. 3 successive oaths caused Chinmu's ability to wield demon speech to rise rapidly. If the Demon King now used human language to form a covenant, Chinmu could compare the 2 systems and fully seize demon speech. When the Demon King said he was being used as a stepping stone to learn, it wasn't unfair. Even so, for safety, Chinmu still insisted on human language, at least then. He understood every word and couldn't be led by the nose. Then does the Demon King still want to form the covenant? Chinmu's gaze flashed. I do. Of course I do. The Dutian Demon King sneered. He knew Chinmu was plotting, but if he didn't continue, there was only one option left. Kill Chinmu, and if he did that, this thread of consciousness of his would perish along with him. The Demon King recited an incantation calling the name of Tu Bo, the deity who ruled Yudu. This time he used the human tongue. There was no room for trickery. Chinmu listened to every word, chewing on it carefully. Gradually he felt a vast, boundless power surge from the depths of space. Half of Yudu's door appeared within his consciousness. When Chinmu reached the line Fuki Sha Wu Shen, he immediately felt a gaze fall straight upon his soul. Not his body, his soul. It was an existence unimaginably ancient, unimaginably great Tu Bo. If he violated the oath, his soul would be taken. The 2 halves of the door merged into a complete door. Beneath it, a roaring yellow springs seemed to churn, but then Chinmu suddenly understood. It wasn't the yellow springs at all, but Tu Bo's 9-jointed horns. The 9 bends of the yellow springs, that was the 9 oaths. The covenant was forged right upon it. The door closed. The strange phenomena dispersed. The Dutian Demon King threw back his head and laughed, smug and triumphant. You signed with nothing but a sliver of my consciousness. If I'm destroyed, so what? The language of Yudu. Don't even dream of it. Chinmu froze for a heartbeat, then exhaled and gave a thin smile. No wonder crippled Grandpa always says when you smile at someone, you should hide a knife behind your back. Demon King, you're seasoned. But I'm not worse. He continued slowly. After I summon the demons, I'll kill them in batches. That won't break the covenant. The Dutian Demon King fell silent at once. In the end, he changed his plan. He would leave Chinmu's body and parasitize a divine mechanical statue in exchange for passing on. The language of Yudu. Chinmu nearly walked into the trap, but caught himself in time if he built the statue before summoning demons. That would violate the covenant. After that, Chinmu began crafting the divine mechanical statue. During those days, Hulinga stood guard outside his door every single day, muttering one line over and over. The national preceptor still owes us 1,000 Great Feng coins. On the fourth day, she stopped speaking, only stood there in silence, despondent. Then the door opened. Old Fu, the steward of the national preceptor's residence, came to repay the money. The national preceptor had received the emperor's reward, 100 palace maids. 1,000,000 coins after repaying the debt, less than half remained. Hulinga lunged forward and snatched the money pouch, beaming with delight. Just then, 2 old men appeared outside the door, one crippled and one elderly layman. They were dressed neatly draped in gold and silver, so rich it was blinding.